Any timing problems?
Yeah, I know the word is sprezzatura. But you know about this? How often is orange, like really the fashionable color? It is now, because of Aperol spritzes. This is the, okay, the grant money, no. Here's the thing. You go wandering towards the archives, and everybody sitting at the cafe is drinking these bright orange drinks. It is Prosecco, like a frizzante wine, right? And you put in this bitter orange liqueur, and it is gorgeous. And now it's like really fashionable, even the color, orange. You're seeing people wearing it that I think they don't know where that comes from, but it's here. Colleen Moriarty is a long time colleague of mine, and independent of the grant, she was in Europe. We met up, and we ended up forming this really useful team for all the chores and intricacies of getting into these archives and doing this work. So she is now part of this project. And look, there's, it's gorgeous. All right, Oxford loved Italy, as we know, northern Italy. Here are references that Mark Anderson makes to all those times that Shakespeare refers to these northern Italian cities. Mantua I added because Mantua is flying beneath the radar. Rick Steves doesn't know about this place, and it's perfect. But it is Shakespeare country, and this was a key archive that I wanted to go to because we want to pin down Oxford in Mantua. That opens up the Giulio Romano, does the Giulio Romano connection, and much more. But Italy is gorgeous. You know, they look at, you know, if my house looked like this, I need to get a workman in there and a crew and all of that. No, this crumbling, the textures, that's perfect. That's just what you want. And you look out the window and you see, you know, this railing should be replaced, right? No, look at that. It's glorious. The birds sing better in Italy. It's like Pavarotti is out the window and they learn or something, or Oxford was there and they just got better. And there's alleyways. There's there's stuff that I don't, what is fennel? Ugh, fennel. But you see fennel on a boat in Venice, and you gotta have it, and it's delicious. Look at this strawberry. Are you kidding me? I don't even like strawberry, but the importance of Italy is Giulio Romano. And you know from my Lucrece work that I went over all these connections. Castiglione is responsible for the idea of the Renaissance sprezzatura, and Guglielmo Gonzaga is in charge when Oxford is there in 1575 and 6. We want to know why Oxford is so taken with Giulio Romano, the only painter, artist that he mentions in the works. Romano's works are said to be dramatic, yes, and if there's any truth to that, and that's not just fancy art history talk, then that's of course what Shakespeare is going to be interested in. I did this picture. There is perspective art, trompe-l'oeil effects everywhere. That is flat surface made to look 3D, and that's just like this entrance way to where you don't get your tickets. All right, this is Colleen. Hello, Colleen. Hello, world. And Elisabetta. Now, Elisabetta, I could tell from the Wi-Fi number that, oh, she was born the same year we were. Yeah, because she didn't disguise it. And then we met her, and it turns out she's an English teacher. Wow, so high, that's cool. And in fact, she and I ended up teaching the authorship question to some school classes of Italian students taking English, and they loved it. And Mantua loves this. Then, let's see, what else? Oh, she happens to be taking those students to the United States, because she loves the United States, and she's taking them to New York. Now, when you're from New York, you can tell when people say New York and they don't mean New York City, but they don't want to go into it, but you can tell. So, okay, where in New York? You wouldn't know, it's like upstate Poughkeepsie, It's where we grew up, went to school, and all this. Yes. Now, we go, the only place I want to go, obviously, is the Sala di Troia to see the Giulio Romano things. So you get in line, due biglietti, por favor. And so do you want the Castello, or do you want both the Castello and the Palazzo? And so I don't know. And I don't care about numbers 1 through 12. I want 13, Palazzo, Sala di Troia, Giulio Romano, just get me there. That's all I want. Oh, no, that's Chiusa, it's closed. What? Yeah, the earthquake 2.5 years ago, you can get them there. How can I not know this? Anyway, Elisabetta knows this guy, makes a call, CCCC. And here's personable director of all enterprises, Stefano Locaso, showing us privately the Sala di Troia. And the thing is overwhelming. It was a glorious day. The light was coming in, and these are my pictures, and I have not seen anything like this, and I've been on this for 10 years. You can't get pictures like this, and it is overwhelming when you step into this. Of course, Oxford couldn't help it. This was theoretically a guest room. This is where Oxford probably woke up in the morning and had time before brunch with the Gonzagas to look around. Judgment of Paris. Il Ratto di Elena, Rape of Helen. On the ceiling, there's Aphrodite fainting in the arms of Zeus. And the wine, I gotta tell you. You go to a wine shop and you look for you're looking at the bottles and you're saying, wow, this is really cheap. This is crappy wine. It never is. So then some guy comes walking in and he talks to the guy behind the counter and says, por favor, 2 litri de frizzante. And he gives him this empty used water bottle. And the guy pulls out a hose from down beneath the counter, fills up another bottle. Quanto costa? €7. What? All right, so I figure I got to get these bottles, right? So I'm gonna have to drink water. So here's the catch. Of course, you go to the store and you want these bottles to drink the water from, so you can bring them in to get the hose wine. And as you guessed, water cost 15 cents. This is like Perrier in this country, a big thing like this, 15 cents, and then you can get, All right, so Oxford would have liked this image probably, because as we saw earlier today, or was it yesterday, for much imaginary work was there, conceit, conceitful, so compact, so kind that for Achilles' image stood a spear gripped in an arm and hand, himself behind was left unseen, save the arm of mind. But also, in addition to this looking like a likely candidate for an Achilles, who you can't see, but you can see the spear shaking, is Gabriel Harvey's famous, thy 9 flash fire, thy countenance shakes a spear, or thy will shake spears. If you continue that same line, who would not swear that Achilles had come to life again? So Oxford is seeing himself as Achilles, and of course he's going to read himself into that character. So this is what we really want to be doing, making these art connections when we go into the archive. Looking for that. All right, so the Mantuan archive found it. They accidentally left the door open. Oops, I can't believe it. All right, this is where I'm supposed to be. In these rooms, it's like an old-fashioned library. I bring in my index with all the busta. These are envelopes, but I'll show you what a busta is in a moment. There are like 300 busta in the index to the Gonzaga Mantuan archives. And you ask for some number of busta after you get all registered, and they bring you a box that looks like that. Filled with, well, when you untie it, filled with these old documents. And we might have just had chips on those fingers. I was told that you couldn't bring a pen because of, all these old documents. I got the impression that these would be under glass. I'm going to have to learn how to say, please turn the page to somebody with gloves. You can't bring a folder because you might whip one of these documents in there and sneak out with it. No, this was just like an old-fashioned library where someone just didn't want you to talk too loud, scowling at you up front. So they place in your hands 405-year-old documents if you get registered properly and explain to them sufficiently what you're doing. And then you look inside and flip through documents. And it's really cool. Now, every once in a while, you want a picture of a document. So this is where this famous Italian bureaucracy comes in, where you're going to have to go up to the front and try to make yourself understood. Vorrei fare una fotografia, per favor. And you have to pay €3. Okay, so the woman up at the front desk there is going to fill out a form and give you this piece of paper, and then you're going to have to walk down and go up one floor in the elevator and go into an office, which you do with your piece of paper. And you'll see a woman, well, actually you won't see her. There's a dish of candy in there, and she's in the back something, but she calls her, and she doesn't get much traffic. And she comes out, she looks at the piece of paper, and then she writes down on her piece of paper all the information that the woman downstairs did, and gives you a number, and you give her 3 euros, and then she writes some more stuff. And she says, thank you very much, and it's lovely, and then you go down the elevator, and then you go in and take your pictures. No, you gotta stop at the front desk and give her that piece of paper so that she gets another piece of paper, and then she writes down the numbers. And the thing is, there's right outside the office is where that woman could just sit with her candy dish, because there's like all this perfect room there. But I thought it was charming, and every once in a while I need a break anyway from the archive stuff, so it worked perfectly well to take a little trip and meet some more charming people. And sometimes you just can't work. I mean, it's Italy, and every other day is a national holiday, so you'd like to go to the archives, but tough. And then they close down everything, for 3 hours in the afternoon. So you'd really like to work some more, but it's time for Aperol. There's nothing you can do about it. The weird thing is that you can take all the pictures you want from one busta for your 3 euros. But if you want to take anything from another busta, you have to pay another 3 euros. That is to say, if you want to take one picture from that and one picture from that, it's 6 euros. If you want to take 40,000 pictures from that and 36 from this, then it's still 6 busta. But what you can do is if you want to take 36 pictures from that and 1 from that, you can take 36 pictures from that and click, never mind. I figured that out afterwards. I would not do that and cheat the government out of the 3 euros. More forms. Hey, look, there's Guglielmo signing things. That's exciting, because that's our guy. There's Guglielmo, too, and all this fancy, that's kind of cool. 1575. Keep calm and drink. Like I said, sometimes. All right. What happened, unfortunately, was that I started to get the sense, all right, what else is there? And there were other indexes, but they seem to be to book collections and legal documents and government boring stuff from later centuries, 1700s and all. And yet, sooner or later, towards the end of way more than I was originally going to stay there for, it was like originally, I don't know what I said to the committee, like 2 weeks, but I knew, I'm gonna just keep staying. I kept emailing back, sell all my lands. I just had, so it turned into a month. But we stayed as long as we could in Nashua, hoping to nail this down, looking through all these bustas and having gone through these 300 descriptions of summaries of what's in there. And yet, there seemed like towards the end something was wrong. We had this sneaky suspicion that we were missing something. And indeed, there was eventually a reference to busta number 2273. And I realized, you know what, I don't have the whole index. There are the Gonzagas were the hoarders of the 16th century. They saved every scrap of paper. There are mountains and mountains of materials there, and gotta go back. So that was unfortunate. I found some interesting things that I could have shown you. I think teaching those students there was good. The fact that Stefano Locaso in the Sala di Troia says, I would love to know that Shakespeare slept here, even though he's kind of skeptical about the whole thing. So we've got a presence going, I think. Anyway, we went back to Venice as a kind of an afterthought because I thought that was another possible, useful, archival place to go, especially for music. But at this point, we were kind of gearing up towards coming back home. You can gondola your way into this place if you can open the gates. It's kind of cool. And you go down into an old-fashioned library. And there's busta. These are only the ones requested. Again, mountains and mountains of materials behind those walls somewhere. Thousands and thousands of busta. And we got, due to all the paperwork, this took some time. My letters of reference. Then made the applications for the busta, and they brought out a busta. This was the last afternoon of our stay there. And you saw some interesting documents. Here's from 1575. It's the right year and some scrawled things with these are votes down here. This is the Concilio de 10 documents, the Council of 10. This is a pretty serious, nasty organization who was put into existence to prosecute traitors and such. So I'm just kind of slithering through that long stack right there. And we came upon this one. This was kind of cool because I saw, oh look, it's like Eduardo. That's close to like Edward de Vere. And so's Count, and so's Darford. Oh, cool. Grand Chamberlain is of Inglaterra. That's of England. That's good. So that's kind of cool. Now, the good thing immediately is that this code thing here, Oxford got 20 votes for whatever he wanted out of the Council of 10. Right.
Get them vote twice.
I guess. They're so important. Anyway, what you will hear officially is the Council of 10 could go up to 16 or 17 if the Doge and some other important people got invited. But I don't think anybody has recorded that anybody ever got 20 votes for this. So what is this? It's this. In 1575, the 27th of June, in the meeting with the heads of the Council of 10, that to Signor Eduardo, Count of Oxford, great Chamberlain of England, let be shown the chambers of arms of our Council of 10 and the places of sanctuary. I worried initially, what's he going up to the Council of 10 for? Did he mess around with somebody's mistress that he shouldn't have? Is he trying to get building permits and that's what's happened to the Council of 10 at this sad point? No, he wants to get into the secret chambers where nobody can get. Now, inside this kind of cover sheet that I'm showing you, in those other cases, there are sometimes letters that are the requests and other materials. In this case, if there was a letter, it's not there anymore. It doesn't need to be much of a letter, but inside this, we found this grand thing. The most illustrious, Edward de Vere, Count of Oxford. You've got this in Italian and then in Latin, and that scroll. Now, we have been looking at documents at this point for nearly a month, and all the writing looks like that. There's different handwritings and all, decipherable, but it's all globby and looking like that. This is the first thing of its ilk that I saw in the entire month. That graceful, elegant, whisper-thin handwriting. And compared with the Oxford signatures, there's no question about the E, but also look at the X, those swirly X's. So much weirdness that maybe that scribe did think he was writing an Orford rather than Oxford maybe, but maybe not. In any case, there's some Oxford signatures. The significance of this is that it's late June in summer. So this is the first step towards filling in that gap. Anyway, we know he was there in late June. And this is what he wants, to get into the secret chambers of the Doge's palace. So you gotta wait around for these bureaucrats to meet. Up they go. We had accidentally almost been in the Doge's palace the day before, bludgeoned by art, bludgeoned by a month in Italy, and not, I was just kind of dizzy. I'll take a picture of that just in case, I don't know. But it turns out we were there the day before in the Concilio de 10's secret chambers, which are now not so secret. This is what Oxford wanted to see. He wasn't interested in politics, as we know, in his fickle head back in England. No, he wants access to the art. He wanted to see this stuff. So, like the Venus and Adonis case that we heard about with the bonnet, the next step for us is, and this has already begun, is to track down what is that art. Now it's dismaying because you read these little signs and plaques all over the place saying, well, this was removed to the Louvre, and Napoleon blew this one up, and this has been moved from downstairs. But it turns out that we have a really good record of what was in that room, and mostly still is in that room. You hear, oh no, Jupiter's sending his thunderbolts against the vices, that's been removed, but it's been replaced with an exact duplicate up there. So Veronese and other artists who Oxford wanted access to, I want to track down next and see, are there any of those details that make this connect to Shakespeare? Right. Okay.